Here's the uncomfortable truth. You don't know what it's like to work for you. Let that sink in. You think you do. You may think that you're approachable, fair, maybe even inspiring. But the best bosses, they all know that they're blind to how their people really experience them. And that humility, that is where greatness begins. The worst bosses, they also have something in common. They're always looking for the magic bullet, the new pay plan, the shiny new tech, the new lead source. But the best bosses, they always come back to mastering the obvious, the mundane, the daily grind. Because they know that you don't win in the dealership world or in the business world in general with great giant wins. It's won by stacking small wins every day, day after day, and compounding that level of absolute focus on fundamental excellence. I'm Chris Hunsicker, and this is the Dealership War Room. Leadership Fire, 7 minutes. Built daily, fueled intentionally, and delivered relentlessly. And this idea of stacking small wins, of not having moments of brilliance followed by mediocrity, but the ability to sustain that relentless drive on mastering the mundane fundamental parts of life is the foundation of my Velocity Mastermind program. And we're going to launch it next month on November 11th. But for today, let's dive into how do we start to make that happen. Today, we begin a 5-part series that's based on Dr. Robert Sutton's breakthrough book, Good Boss, Bad Boss. He did years of research on what actually made some bosses more effective than other bosses. And instead of theories or thoughts or ideas, it's grounded in empirically based research. And he came down to 12 core beliefs that good bosses had and that bad bosses didn't. And this week, we're going to dive into every one of those 12 beliefs so you get a chance to look at where are you nailing it and where do you probably need to close the gap. As with everything, we're going to start with mindset, because that's where everything begins. The first 3 beliefs all have to deal with your mindset as a leader. Belief number 1 is I have a flawed and incomplete understanding of what it feels like to work for me. This is a gut check. Your people experience a version of you that you're going to never fully know. Maybe it's your tone or your timing, your body language on the floor. You think you're coaching, but what they experience is criticism. You think that you're being calm, and what they experience is simmering anger that's just held under the surface. Great bosses, they know that there's this blind spot, and they build in feedback loops to address it. One of the things that I've done for years in my career are employee engagement surveys. And it is difficult every time I present to a leader the results of their engagement score. It feels like a gut punch, and they're just shocked because the data shows that most managers overestimate the positive impact of their leadership by between 37 and 52%. So at the low end, almost all managers see themselves as being 37% more effective in their leadership than the people who actually experience their leadership. You must build in feedback loops to address the blind spots that naturally occur. Belief number 2, my success and that of my people depends largely on mastering the obvious and mundane things. One of the most important commitments you can ever make is the commitment to become an execution ninja. There are millions and millions of people that know what to do. Just go online. Everybody has an opinion about what needs to happen. Yet nobody's making things happen. Why? Because most people would rather know what to do and even know how to do it than be able to do it. And that's the essence of this. When you grind on the fundamentals, what you're doing is you're building in yourself and your team that skill set to be what I call execution ninjas, the people that can just go out and take action every day. Belief number 3 is critical, and please listen in on this one. Having well-defined and ambitious goals is critical, but to obsess over them is useless. My job as a leader is to focus on creating small wins so my people are making progress every single day. This is huge because everybody talks about 30-day numbers, but your people, they don't live in 30-day chunks. They live in single days. Small wins stack into momentum, and momentum stacks into culture, and culture stacks into big numbers. That's why culture is always defined by big numbers, and big numbers are always supported by culture. But it starts with small wins. If you take away the small wins, then the goals collapse. So here's an incredibly unsexy truth. Greatness doesn't begin with the next new shiny idea. It begins with humility, with the mundane, and with an absolute laser focus on small wins. So here's the execution bridge for the day, and I call this the mirror walk. It takes 3 minutes, And if you're willing to do it for 30 days, it will fundamentally change the way you leave and it'll move your numbers. Step 1 is the mirror question. And this is simply stopping at the end of your day and ask yourself, if you were on the receiving end of the leadership you gave today, how would you feel? And I want you to take and write it down. One word. I feel exposed. I felt seen. I felt encouraged. I felt disrespected. I felt challenged. I felt criticized. Write down one word to describe what was it like to be on the other side of your leadership today. This is so critical because we often never stop to look, how did I do today? We let weeks, months, years go by. I've had some people, I've given them an engagement survey or a 360 survey, and it had been a decade since they'd ever had that feedback. So you've got to build feedback loops. And this is one way to start getting some insight into, hey, what's it like to work for you each and every day? Step 2 is the mundane audit. Did you do one thing today, one mundane activity with excellence? Maybe it was being on time for a huddle. Maybe it was doing a clean write-up for someone to kind of check that out. Maybe it was diving in on a deal and doing an impeccable close. And I got to tell you, maybe it was just picking up the phone and making some phone calls to help set some appointments because floor traffic was low today. It's the mundane, everyday stuff that drives sales, whether it be in service, parts, or in new used cars, that you're in there doing those mundane things and just kind of circle on your little chart there, yes or no, yes, I did it, or no, I didn't do it. And step 3 is the small win highlight. This is building that discipline of catching people doing stuff right. And all I want you to do is write down one small win from your team today. And then tomorrow morning, make sure you share it with them. That's it. The mirror walk, humility, mastering the mundane, and celebrating small wins. Do this for 7 days and watch. You'll see the shift, not just in yourself, but in your team's energy. This week, we're going to walk through all 12 of the beliefs that Dr. Sutton talks about in Good Boss, Bad Boss. But today, we're just starting with the first 3, which really start with humility, mastering the mundane, and learning how to stack small wins. Now that you're starting to understand the beliefs of a great boss and the mindset, if this is hitting home and you know someone who needs this podcast, please share this with them and hit like and hit subscribe. And here's what I'm going to beg you to do. Tomorrow, go in. Your team does not need a new gadget. They don't need a new slogan. What they need is a leader who shows up and walks through the showroom with self-awareness, consistency, and clarity. So do the mirror walk. Do the audit tomorrow. Go out today, create some leadership fire, and I'll see you tomorrow in the Dealership War Room.